What up? So I've already put out a video on what I feel is the best bug fighting Helldivers loadout in the current meta, and figured, what the hell, why don't we make one for bots too? I actually used to really hate fighting automatons, finding them incredibly frustrating, and would avoid them whenever possible. Now though, they are a walk in the park, especially with this loadout. I think they're kind of a breeze. I no longer mind any major order involving bot killing. First, we're gonna go over weapon recommendations. Then we're gonna go over stratagems, which of course are a little bit flexible, but I'll be sure to save my #1 most recommended stratagem for the very end. All right, let's talk about weapons real quick. Considering how hard I went to bat for both the crossbow and the eruptor in my I 100% fully completed every warbond in Helldivers 2 video, you'd probably think I'd recommend either one of those. And although both of those options work incredibly well, for bot killing, I actually prefer the Plaz 101 Purifier, hands down. Reason being, I think it manages to conserve ammo pretty damn well, and it is just a perfect no-mess way of clearing up every grunt level enemy on the field, even those extremely annoying AT-AT wannabe scout striders. Don't get me wrong, you definitely can go with either the crossbow or the eruptor if you want. Those are legit never bad options, but a lot of the low-level automatons have this really annoying tendency to run at you very fast, and for those moments in particular, I find the purifier to be a much cleaner option. You don't have to worry about ragdolling yourself across the map like you would with the eruptor. For your secondary weapon, this should come as no surprise, but it is the Laz 58 Talon. I'm honestly shocked that this weapon hasn't been nerfed into oblivion yet, because quite frankly, I think it's really disgusting for a secondary weapon. Very happy that Arrowhead is out here letting us have fun though, I want to make sure that is clear, but if you've never used it, the Talon is a hard-hitting revolver kind of weapon that features the heat weapon trait, meaning that as long as you don't spam fire too fast, you'll A, never need to reload, and B, you basically have unlimited ammo. The Talon is excellent for moments where maybe there's just one or two low-level enemies giving you trouble, aka kind of a low-stakes situation, and you want to take them out, again, maybe while conserving primary ammo. Make no mistake though, the Talon hits extremely hard and is an incredibly fun weapon all on its own. If you don't have the Talon, you poor bastard, you could always go for the P4 Senator if you happen to have that unlocked, but the Talon is just way better in my opinion, due to the no reload factor. Grenade-wise, you definitely can go with the G4 gas if you want. It really can help you get out of a lot of tight jams at close range, which is always a worry when fighting automatons. Some of those bastards have chainsaws, which I'm not a fan of, but I'm personally going to go with the G123 Thermite Grenade. Rest assured, this loadout will feature other methods of dealing with heavily armored enemies, believe me, but I find it's always really important to have an ace in the hole if you ever run out of anti-tank ammo. The last situation you want to find yourself in is being charged by a Hulk with nothing in your back pocket. And as most of us know by now, the Thermite is elite at taking down chonky, annoying enemies like Hulks or whatever if you're faced with no other option. Again, not as universally handy as the gas grenade, I would say, but I find that the Thermite Grenade is way more likely to save my ass from more threatening enemies more routinely. All right, stratagem time. Before we get going, I do want to give an honorable mention to a very random candidate, which is the solo silo from the Dust Devils Warbond. Admittedly, the silo is kind of annoying in the sense that enemies can destroy the silo and you have to either protect it or act very fast, but they can hit extremely hard, and they also hit so hard they can actually one-shot factory striders, which I do feel is undeniably incredible. But that being said, we've got other options here that I think are a bit more reliable. The first two options I'm really fond of because they kind of fall under the category of set it and forget it, and that is the Rocket Sentry and the Autocannon Sentry. You could swap out the Autocannon for the Gatling Sentry if you want, but the Rocket and the Auto Sentry is an awesome tag team combination that I very much enjoy taking into those long, big map 40-minute automaton missions. I'd say that the Rocket Sentry is a tad more valuable, but they're both extremely good at what they do and just helping you clear the battlefield of all problems almost immediately. I'd recommend only using one at a time unless things are getting really hairy. Remember, with that ship upgrade, the cooldown time is really only around 2 minutes per turret, meaning that if you only use one at a time, you almost always have one ready to go whenever you need cover. I'm kind of worried that Arrowhead may eventually nerf turrets with how viable they are in most big map missions, but what are you gonna do? Until that time maybe ever comes, I'm gonna continue to enjoy abusing the hell out of them because they're fantastic. Remember, always try to throw your turrets in a location where they have a good, clean line of sight. Try to pull an Obi-Wan Kenobi when you throw those down. Taking advantage of the high ground is a really good idea with turrets because they can cover more of the battlefield that way. Our third stratagem option is kind of a flex, but I'm gonna give you 3 to choose from. The options are the portable Hell Bomb, the anti-tank emplacement, placement, and the orbital laser. The one I vote for the most is probably the portable hell bomb, which I recommend for two reasons. One, it's really fun, but more importantly, two, it has the ability to deal with one of the most annoying automaton structures, the stratagem jammer. Now, technically, you can deal with jammers the old-fashioned way, ain't nothing wrong with that. You go on in, you clear out the enemies, then you activate the terminal to temporarily turn off the jammer, and then you call in a regular hell bomb, but that's like a whole ordeal, and also enemies can destroy the bomb before it goes off, which is very annoying. However, with a portable hell bomb, you can call it in outside of the range of the jammer, and then run it in manually, you arm it, you drop it, and run away. Much easier and IMO much more fun. But ultimately, it's up to you and how much you might hate jammers overall. The anti-tank emplacement is a really fun pick if you ever have to deploy into an evacuate high-value assets mission, but those aren't always a thing. If I do have one of those available though, I will almost always bring the anti-tank emplacement. It is extremely good on those missions. Finally, if you have no strong feelings one way or the other and you really feel like you can't be bothered to make a choice, the orbital laser is an extremely easy way to cook everything on the battlefield and give you a ton of immediate breathing room if and when things are getting too hot. It's basically your throw in case of extreme emergency option. The fourth and final stratagem is not a flex at all, however, nor is it a recommendation. This is a prescription from Fallout MD, and that would be the recoilless rifle. I gotta tell you, for a long time, I was really against using any stratagem that also used up your backpack option. And if you feel that way too, I understand. The shield gen pack, the jetpack, and especially the warp pack are extremely fun options that give you better movement and or better survivability. And with that in mind, having an anti-tank option that also occupies your backpack slot was a big ask, and for the longest time, I usually would rely on things like the EAT or the Quasar, which, by the way, still very good options, and I still do hard recommend the Quasar for high-level bug killing. But the recoilless rifle is such an elite anti-bot option. Will I miss my backpack? Always. But every major heavy armored threat on the field gets punked so hard by the recoilless rifle, it's insane. Hulks, tanks, dropships, even factory striders get absolutely slapped around. I do get annoyed by the fact that I have to manually reload the recoilless, but it's a very small price to pay. Besides, if you have the payroll management system ship upgrade unlocked, that takes the edge off the reload a wee bit. Also, technically speaking, the recoilless rifle does hit harder than the Quasar too, but you know, whatever. Again, if you're a fellow diver who is obsessed with the very fun backpack options and you're extremely reluctant to go in without a warp pack or whatever, trust me, give it a go. Even at super Helldive difficulty, which is basically all I play these days, this entire loadout with the recoilless rifle as the godly cherry on top will allow you to basically be a one-man army and let you handle pretty much any threat on the field by yourself. Big tip for the RR, because each shot is so incredibly precious, always keep a sharp eagle eye out for any ammo crates on the field that you might come across at all. Granted, I'm sure you were probably already doing that anyway, but random ammo crates are worth more than gold for recoilless wielders. Also, if and when bot ships come down, if you're fast enough, you can take them down before they drop their cargo and aim right here. Any of the engines located at the four corners, and the entire ship will come down in one shot, possibly even crash landing on top of any troops down below, which is always fun. Armor-wise, I have armor traits that I favor for automaton fighting, but I feel you have way more flexibility with your armor selection, not like the recoilless rifle. For general armor usage, I would recommend either my all-time classic pick, which remains Democracy Protects, or if you want to be a little bit more offensive, you can go with any armor featuring the Engineering Kit trait. That way you'd have more grenades to chuck at bot fabricator buildings, which I doubt you'd want to use a recoilless rifle shot on unless you really truly have no other option. Trust me, give this loadout a whirl and discover just how easy automatons are in the year of our Lord 2025. Don't forget to check out my other Helldiver videos, including the best super credit and metal farm currently in the game, as well as my best loadout for fighting bugs, both of which I'll link down below. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.